Welcome back, listeners, to the AIBiz Podcast. I'm your host Sana, and today's conversation, I think let's start like this. As you all know, listeners, we are living in a moment where AI it's no longer abstract. It's no longer the future or any future concept of a sci-fi movie. Um, it's already deciding what content we see, how businesses hire, how communities are moderated, and in some cases, who gets access and who gets left out. And at the same time, many people feel more disconnected, misunderstood, overwhelmed than ever. So the question becomes, is AI helping us feel more human or quietly pulling us further apart? And that's exactly what we are exploring today. My guest, Thomas R. Wilson, an advocate, peer specialist, sensory friendly events expert, has worked with over 40 businesses to create more inclusive spaces for neurodiverse and mental health communities. Thomas is deeply rooted in community storytelling, listeners, and also real world impact, not the tech hype. So, Thomas, thank you for being here. I'm really, really glad and thankful that, we're having this conversation.
Thank you for having me be here. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Totally, totally. So let's start with understanding the AI and human connection, Thomas, because when people talk about AI improving connection, it's kind of something on the similar what, social media was intended to do, like, um, increasing more reach, having a presence, connecting with people that you may know, but they are you know um, so much distant from you, and then also efficiency. So from your perspective, does AI actually improve human connection, or does it mostly change how connection looks on the surface?
So I love that question. And I'm gonna give kind of a dual answer here. I do think it improves human connection depending on how it's utilized. I think with a lot of things, AI is being utilized to circumvent loneliness and sadness and uh, a lot of different very human emotions. We're seeking it to explore and understand ourselves better. But as with anything, I think it's so important that we have a conversation about AI being a tool. And
Mm.
especially in our world, we love to remove the identity of a tool from humanity. We like to either blame it, we like to get mad at it, we like to
Yeah.
praise it. But I think the thing that is happening that is separating people from other people through AI is there are people seeking it as a mechanism to heal their hearts or heal their mind. And I think there's a lot in that. That could be its own like 3 hour conversation. But I think
Yeah.
the thing that is dangerous about that is one, there's not enough guidelines and measures on AI. And also there's when we as human beings seek a third party route to help heal our hearts, heal our minds, dangerous thing about that is when it's not moderated well. And I'm not here to demonize AI, but there has been a lot of proof that AI does not, and it's not Skynet. It's not as advanced as a lot of people might want you to think it is. But when we remove humanity from the healing of our hearts, when we remove the people around us from the feeling of our hearts and utilize our technology to do that, that is not really trained to do that, we
Mhm.
risk harming ourselves. We risk increasing our isolation. We risk the idea of, our wellness. Now, on the
Yeah.
opposite side of that, I can fully see why someone might want to do that. AI can be cheaper than going to a doctor. It can comfort us when we need it to. It can give us answers we might normally not have had if we don't have a lot of people around us. What I think is the key is understanding the technology. And I think we need greater moderation, but we also need greater AI literacy as human
Yeah.
beings and not to seek it as a cure all.
I actually absolutely agree on this, especially about the AI literacy, because I mean, AI can actually lower barriers in some ways, while, I mean, of course, creating new ones in others. Especially when empathy is assumed instead of designed. And I think, I mean, it's definitely, leads to it's definitely leading to something uncomfortable. But before that, Thomas, one quick question: where do you personally see AI helping connection, and then also where do you see it quietly weakening it?
So I think the first thing, and I think this is the biggest thing, is businesses. Businesses around the world are using AI to better connect with their audience. The other big thing is artists. I know there's a lot of hostility right now in a lot of communities around using AI to circumvent hiring people. Um, but I think not to discredit that, there is a lot about AI, and I'll get into this really quickly about it weakening it. There's a lot about AI that can help us to connect to people. And I think, in a world where people get so mad, I think there is often a lot of justification in that anger. But as I always say, we have to carry our anger with the courage to be kind. And, anger is a very false emotion in my opinion. It gives us
Okay.
empowerment, but that power is very brief and it often leads to ruin. But I think where businesses use AI and they use it ethically in collaboration with their community or in collaboration with people they can hire, it can really help us. And with artists, it especially within the communities I work with, especially like the neurodiverse or people with disabilities, all kinds of live subject matter experts. I have said this for the longest time, the last few years. AI is going to become a tool that is going to empower people who may have different diagnoses, different lived experience to enter into fields that they have never been able to. It's also going to help us better understand as people, if we use it correctly, how to help people see employment, how to become better artists, storytellers, all of these things. We have to use it well. But I think the biggest weakness right now is the idea that AI can cut people out. It can separate us. And there are people, and I think this discussion in itself is very complex and there's a lot of nuance that I can't get into it. But when we utilize any tool to cut people out or to remove them from their identity or make them less than, or we put the monetary cost over people, it becomes a problem. But at the same time, like I remember this happening with computers not that long ago. I grew up in the early 90s. I grew up in the early days of like the internet getting really big. And a lot of people had many of these complaints. And now these are fully integrated into many spaces. Technology like computers are seen as this vital asset. People learn to adapt. And so I think on both sides, there are strengths and weaknesses. We just, as people, have to identify the fact that, yes, that big weakness is removal of people and the environmental costs, but it's also like it can be something that can help us evolve and understand our workplaces, our communities, our abilities to a far greater capacity as long as we utilize the tool mindfully and with empathy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is such a critical, aspect of, whenever there's conversation which involves the humanity and the machines. Like, are we, you know, consciously or unconsciously designing everything what machines would dictate per se, or we are trying to create a collaboration between the mind and the machine? And you mentioned about about neurodiversity, and I think this is also a very important question that AI systems completely trained on patterns, but then neurodiverse people often don't fit dominant patterns. So do you think the existing AI tools, the current ones, genuinely account for neurodiversity, Thomas, or are they unintentionally reinforcing narrow definitions of, quote unquote, normal behavior?
So I love that question so much.
Mhm.
So I think to start we have to look at the idea of AI because I've worked with so many people and they are, especially within the neurodiverse brain, I think there's something that really clicks with AI. I have
Mm.
worked intimately with so many people who have praised AI, who have been fascinated by it, who have been, who have sworn by it, who have utilized it on a daily basis. And I think the beauty of that is, I think part of it is the fact that AI can create so quickly, but
Mm.
also that it is such a massive creative tool because the neurodiverse brain loves creativity. It also can handle of science and like the management of data at a fast process. So I think in its core, AI is a tool that can profoundly benefit the neurodiverse mind. I think
Mhm.
when going back to the idea of is it harming, I think the danger and I mean, I will be honest, I think one of the biggest dangers in general for anyone in AI is its almost instantaneous process.
Mm.
It creates so quickly and it utilizes so much power to do that and I think this is something that and I'll move back into your question a little bit more. I think like anytime there is an instantaneous process that can limit someone. And I think especially for the neurodiverse brain who has a problem, we can have a problem. I'll throw myself in this, waiting patiently for things. And there is so much bias around the neurodiverse brain and our patience level. I think there's a danger there. But I think also with any tool, it's also crucial to say, yes, there are people who are going to use AI to include bias and outright ableism towards the AI to the neurodiverse brain. But at the same time, there has to be an intentionality on how we program AI because it responds over time. It responds to requests. But unfortunately, there again, going back to regulations, there's not enough regulations on things like the neurodiverse brain. And
Mm.
unfortunately, a lot of these companies are not inherently, in my opinion, thinking enough about the people who have mental health needs, who have neurodiversity, who are live subject matter experts in the disability community, all of these things. And unfortunately, with any revolution in technology, that is a reality. Very rarely are those of us within these communities at the forefront of many people's minds. And we have seen this happen. We have seen tragedies occur. We have seen lawsuits arise. And
Mhm.
yet, so often, the thing that frustrates me is it's not about it's not about helping people for the future. It's often blocking and eradicating something. And I think with any tool, if we want it to move forward and benefit all people, we have to have a conversation as a community about the limitations, about the problems, and how to move forward. And I think that is how we get AI to truly honor these communities.
Absolutely. 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 I think whatever, I mean, regarding the community, because I think the more it is individualized, um, I mean, we will have definitely, voices, but I think the beauty of having voices, but then having a same or a similar alignment or intention, I think that's it. That exactly is the beauty of humanity. I mean, you can have different opinions, different ways to look at it, but then the larger, the bigger goal, the bigger picture, it's something that everyone has together, like envisioned it together. So I think that's the beauty that we need to kind of once again bring back for all of us.
Oh, I fully agree. I think, and it can be so easy, I think, and especially in today's modern world where the news is on every social media platform, where there is so much worry and anxiety and so much pain. And I think it's very easy for human beings to jump into that because we as a species, in my opinion, are terrible at perspective. We are just
Mhm.
like, we are not great at it. We're not good at always seeing from another person's perspective. We're not great at understanding our own history throughout the world. We have a lot of limitations, but I think because we have this constant media and constant conversation, it's really
Mhm.
hard for us to understand that. But I want to emphasize every day there is so much good that happens in this world. There is so much beauty. There is so much capability and promise and efforts to benefit the people around us. And I think AI is going to be a really big part of that. And I think it is a really big part of that. AI, I truly believe if we can master the power of AI for the benefit of humanity, I really believe that there is, there's so much sadness, so much worry, so much pain in this world, and it can be really easy to witness that and to see that on, when the news is constantly on, when it's on social media, when there's anger all around us. But I think the beauty and I think the capability of AI is to emphasize all of the good that is happening, all of the like every day there are people doing great deal of effort, great deal of kindness. There are programs that are being utilized and emphasized to help people. And I think AI, especially if we can utilize that, we can manage that, we can get it to benefit not just human beings, because we can be terrible at perspective and we can forget about, the history of our people and the world that we live in. If we can get it to really benefit people, I believe strongly that AI is going to be a tool that is going to empower humanity. I believe it is something that when we truly understand it and we can get it to help us, it could be something that can help vast amounts of people who cannot afford
Mhm.
certain programs or care. And I really truly believe that like any tool, anything that is utilized can also be something that can help the collective mental health.
Mhm.
It can help the collective mindset, and it can also emphasize the good in humanity because it can be so easy to feel sad and down and distraught. But at the end of the day, like I keep saying, there is so much being good, so much good being done every single moment of every single day. And I think AI can help us acknowledge that and understand that in a really beautiful way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think like efficiency can never replace presence, because especially in mental health and neurodiverse communities, I believe like being seen and believed, it matters more than perfect responses. So in that way, I think AI might assist, but it cannot witness someone's humanity the way another person can.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it is code. It is a machine. It is very much, it's like a hammer. We can use a hammer. We can get nails in a board, and We can establish something pretty on a wall, but we can't have a hammer see us. And the same thing, AI is designed to respond to us in a particular way. It's meant to affirm and confirm and provide information. It doesn't know how to respond. It doesn't know how to apply perspective or empathy. And that's where I think the big thing is bringing in people who understand it, bringing in our AI literacy and having conversations. I think it's going to be kind of like how computers are utilized. As it grows and develops, there's going to be people getting degrees and how to understand it. More jobs will eventually open up around it. And I think, in a vast idea, even just beyond business, it's going to open up new communities of artists. It's going to open up new communities of storytellers. And I think the intention there is just to utilize it as a means of human connection, not a means of human separation.
Totally, totally, 100%, 100%, Thomas. Before we wrap up, one last quick question. I think it's a very important one, because some people argue, Thomas, that AI will eventually be better at reducing bias than humans, because it doesn't have emotions or personal agendas. Do you buy that argument, or do you think it ignores how bias actually works?
Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful question to end. So I think it's important to note there is a sense of idealism in AI. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of reasons why people might say that. Some people, certain tech companies might want to say that for their own financial gain. There are also people who might be a bit idealist and believe that. I think when it comes to bias, and my goodness, this could be its own like 3 hour conversation as well. I think
Mhm.
it's important to know, and I listened to someone, I wish I could remember her name, but she talked about the idea of bias. And
Mm.
it was this beautiful conversation. And she essentially said everyone is biased. Everyone has bias in some way or another, whether it's racial or otherwise. The important thing to note about bias is that we don't have to give into it. We can understand it, we can work around it, we can process it, but everybody is biased, and it doesn't mean we're less than because we are biased.
So, listeners, thank you so much for tuning into the AIBiz podcast. If today's conversation with Thomas R. Wilson gave you a new way to think about AI, where it helps, where it harms, and how we keep humanity at the center, take a moment to reflect on one small shift you can make this week. Use AI as a tool for inclusion, not a shortcut that replaces real people. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or colleague who's navigating AI, business, or community work right now. And also, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow the show so you never miss an upcoming conversation. Until next time, this is Sana, and you have been listening to the AI Biz podcast, where we explore how technology can scale impact without losing our human connection. Thank you.